This is the
Wow.
top 20 scoring defenses in the country as of today and the records of all of the teams therein. Nebraska is tied for 19th with SMU.
Yep.
So this is the top 20 teams in the
nation. Look at those records.
In scoring defenses. And, oh, look, all the heavy hitters are here. Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee, Penn State, Indiana, Army, Oregon. Hell, Iowa State, SMU. And, yeah, you've got some teams with single-digit wins. Mississippi, Ole Miss is 9-3.
Alabama.
Miami of Ohio is 8-4. Minnesota is 7-5. Northern Illinois is 7-5. But the one thing that just kind of sticks out there is you got lonely old 6-6 Nebraska in this list of top 20 scoring defenses. In other words, the documentary that you made this year, it turned out to be true again because they're still chasing points.
Oh, that's what they should have called it, chasing points, not chasing three. They are the only team on here that is 500. They're the worst records. There are 2 7-5 teams. There are 2 8-4 teams. There are 5 9-3 teams, and then everyone else is at 10 wins, 11 wins, or the lone undefeated team, the Oregon Ducks, at 12-0. That is wild. And that just shows how big of a problem the offense was and how it's like, there's this frustration, and I get it, right? The defense didn't make a stop when they had to. And it's like, yeah, sure, but the offense never scored when they had to. They never did it.
Exactly.
They never did it.
They could have, maybe tried to score a few times before UCLA got up 3 scores on them.
Yeah.
They could have scored a few times when they were moving the ball against Indiana, but couldn't finish drives. How many times did we bang the drum about the echo, the echo, the echo, the echo? Nebraska didn't have a problem moving the ball.
They just couldn't score.
They had a problem scoring the ball.
Yeah. They were not very good at it.
But, again, the conversation about defense. And here's the thing. I think, as we talked a few segments ago about, Matt Rule and maybe he's, taking a deep dive under the hood to examine some things. I still wonder if he's going to want a more hands-on approach with the defense. That the idea is that, hey, Dana's coming in, he's going to work the offense, and I'm not really gonna interfere. And maybe interfere is too strong a word, but have influence or have a large percentage or a decent percentage of the influence. We don't know that about the defense.
Yeah.
That seems to be the side of the ball that Matt Rule likes to tinker with as much as anyone. Kind of fits his personality as a...
He's always talked about it, right? My defense is going to be good and my offense will do enough.
Exactly.
He certainly has realized that, you can't always win games like that. If you're going to win games like that, you have to be so buttoned up at everything else, like Iowa, and they're not buttoned up at everything else. So now they're realizing they got to score points. There was a question here from Jordan. Where's the next 6-6 team on the list? So I just looked at the scoring defense. It's actually not a 6-6 team. It's a 5-7 team, but that's Louisiana Tech. They were tied for 25th with Georgia and Michigan. Michigan, had they not won versus Ohio State, they would have been 6-6, but they're 7-5. Georgia's obviously 10-2. So La Tech, they are tied for 25th. And then the next team ranked below that is 28th. So that's how far you have to go to find a team that actually has a worse record than Nebraska. But otherwise, everyone else from Michigan on up is 7-5 or better, except for Nebraska.
Again, the point is you had a defense good enough that you should have won
2 years in a row,
8 or 9 games.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row that you should have won at least 8 or 9 games. You ended up with 5 and 6 wins.
Yeah.
But it will be a challenge. And who knows, we've always talked about complementary football. Maybe the idea on defense will be, we anticipate we'll give up more points, but we also anticipate we'll score more points. So
if it makes you better, that's
instead
fine.
Instead of winning low-scoring games, we'll win high-scoring games. Possibly.
Yeah.
I would sense, though, that, Matt Rule still wants to have a top 20 scoring defense.
Oh, yeah. No one doesn't want to have that.
Right.
It's just, can he get it? Zach says Matt Rule absolutely needs to hire someone so he doesn't have to have a hands-on approach with the defense. Now, first of all,
but I think he wants it.
Yeah, and
I think that's what he likes.
He's a defensive guy. I don't have an issue with that. My issue would be is the coordinator out there, calling plays and doing things in a really strong way. If it's Butler with Phil Snow, like, I mean, I'll be honest in saying, like, I'm not like super jacked about that. But part of that is that John Butler's position group was, suspect at times in 2024. He came in. It is funny. So if I would have told you, John, in July 12th, because by that point in time, Butler had been hired, right? So I tell you on July 12th, hey, so here's what's going to happen. At the end of the year, Tony White's going to leave, and you probably nod your head. Yeah, makes sense. And I say, and John Butler is going to be the new DC. And you say, yeah, makes sense to me. That's why they brought him in. But then if I go, yeah, so Tony White's leaving to be the Florida State defensive coordinator, and Butler is going to be the new DC, but Phil Snow is going to be an analyst who is also, probably involved. You'd say, what happened? Why?
Yeah.
And certainly if you would know how the defensive backs played and how they struggled on that side of the ball in the defensive backfield, you'd just be like a little perplexed. It's not that they're making these moves. It's not that Tony White is leaving. It's not that John Butler is perhaps going to be the DC and nothing is official there. It's how we got to this point. That's the surprise, because in July, I mean, dude, you can go back and read all the stories. I know that there are many podcasts from back then where I said, yeah, he'll probably be the next DC, because that's what it seemed like. He wanted to be a coordinator. That's why he left Buffalo in the first place. Oh, yeah, it makes sense that he wants to come to Nebraska. He'll probably be the next coordinator.